Tommytoon Stories presents the Cryptilog, Episode 2, Croaking Horror. Hello, curious minds. My name is Mr. Crypt, and this is the Cryptilog. Today we have a story submitted to me from about a week ago, and it took me a minute to get to it. So, let's see what we got here. Hello, my name is James. My son had come across your show and had encouraged me to submit my story for you. This was from my time as an officer in Louisiana, and I'm long since retired, and moved away since retiring. For the full context of the story, I was a new deputy in the county back in 1985, and I was new in the field of law enforcement, having had a strong desire to do good for people. This happened during my first summer, sometime in July. Or maybe it was early August? Honestly, some details of that night are a little fuzzy, due to the ravages of time. However, the lead-up I remember vividly. It was my first night shift, with the night being humid as all hell. I'd gotten myself a cup of coffee with some donuts to help fuel myself in the night, though I wouldn't have much of a chance to enjoy the food and drink for long, as I'd quickly get a call for a possible break-in or animal control. What I'd been told is that an elderly lady had called in that something was breaking into her chicken coop. The drive was on the outskirts of the suburbs, near some of the wetlands. Arriving on the scene quickly, I was greeted by the old woman, who looked as scared as all can be. When I went to investigate, I brandished my flashlight and a pistol, unsure of what I was going to see. However, what I saw was a large mess. The coop torn into, and a mess of feathers strewn about the backyard. I'd seen coyote attacks, but this was nothing like it. And amongst the feathers, there was something peculiar that stood out to me. When I shot my light around the ground, some bits of the feathers and grass had a weird glossy shimmer. Putting my pistol aside for a moment, I put on a glove and took one of the feathers in my hand. Coating it was this substance, very slimy and slightly translucent. It reminded me of dog slobber, but it had a distinctly swampy smell. Moments after, I heard the sound of shuffling and footsteps, and I saw a figure running into the darkness of the nearby wilderness. Determined to prove myself, a foolish notion, I went after the figure yelling police. But this short figure, standing at what I estimated to be 5'2", didn't even slow down a bit. And I could hear the sounds of wings flapping, interspersed with the footsteps and heavy breathing. I continued the chase with my gun drawn, expecting a potential confrontation with the maniac. But nothing could have prepared me for what I'd see in that dark place. I chased this figure well into the dark, and found myself deep amongst the wetlands. A dangerous place to be certain, with gators, pumas, and snakes. Though I was close, I could hardly see him, but the chickens were flapping and cawing, piercing the darkness. That was until there was this terrible crunch, and the sounds of struggling were replaced by tearing of flesh and squelching. Honestly, my blood ran cold at that moment, because in my mind, I was still dealing with a man. And the thought of a man tearing into and eating chicken raw, blood and all. When I'd catch up to the source of the sound, there was an immediate shock and repulsion I felt. Standing before me was the figure. But it wasn't human. And I still, to this day, have no clue what it was. It stood a little over 5 feet, with a bulky, seemingly fat build like a toad, short limbs, large bulging green eyes, a bulbous writhing back, mud-colored skin, and a pair of fangs. As the light shone on the creature, there was that slimy substance I'd seen before, with it being on the bulbous back. The creature was holding the torn-apart, mutilated corpses of several stolen chickens. And when the light shone on the creature, it let out this horrible scream. It charged directly towards me, much like how a person would run. Of course, with a scream and without hesitation, I fired as many shots as I had in the pistol's chamber. As the bullets impacted the creature's torso, a black tar-like substance oozed from the wounds. And with a thud, the creature collapsed dead on the ground. I'd thought that'd been the end of it. Jesus Christ. I really hope this isn't real. Oh shit, that was still... Need to edit this out in post. Upon a follow-up, I got in contact with the son who'd informed me of the unfortunate passing of James. According to his son, he died from a heart attack. Though a detail that he'd mentioned stood out to me. There were a couple of toads looking in through the window where he'd been found. I don't know if that's just a bit of morbid irony or... Never mind. End of log. The Cryptilog is a horror fiction series written by and directed by Tommytoon Stories. Narration is provided by DreamRayz. Feel free to visit the description for social media links. See you next time for the next story.